Thank you, Jerry.
And for more on Apple Watch, let's bring in Pete Paschal, the tech editor for Mashable. I'm a skeptic, Pete, but I want to hear what you say. You're familiar with all this. Are all these added, gizmos and apps, is it worth the price?
Well, that's a good question. First of all, I don't think we're going to see everyone walking around talking to their wrists. I just don't think that's a thing people want to do. But the Apple Watch itself, it's an interesting bag. I mean, we only had the initial price before today. We only knew it was going to start at $349. And now what we've heard is that the regular Apple Watch starts now at $550.
Ow.
Now, you can still get the sport one for a little lower, but it goes all the way up to $1,050 for the small size and $1,100 for the larger size. So that's quite a lot.
Yeah,
that's more than an iPad.
Especially since I've already spent the money for the phone and the iPad. It's adding up now. So tell me, what are the features that you think would be attractive?
Well, the thing that Apple holds all over the competition, specifically Android in this case, has always been apps. And even when, in Android you have sort of app parity, the experiences and the willingness for developers to develop for Apple is always much greater. So if the experience for Uber, for example, on the watch, like I just call for a car literally into my wrist and it's there, for Twitter, for Facebook, for all these other apps, if those end up being good sort of value-add experiences, then, I could see this thing having some appeal, but on its surface as just kind of an extension for notifications on your phone. You see something like an email comes in on your wrist. I mean, there's a lot of things that do that already. Some of them even compatible with
Apple Pay. You can check your calendar, access boarding passes.
That's pretty cool.
Hotels.
I like the boarding passes. Hotels, very nice.
But don't I do that on my iPhone anyway?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. The putting all this stuff on your phone was much more convenient than just having it on, say, a laptop or some other thing. Transporting from the phone to the watch is kind of an incremental level of convenience for certain people, for most situations. I mean, Apple Pay, okay, I can see that. Now I don't even need to pull my phone out. I can just wave my watch. But a few of these things, do you really want to pay $500, $600, $700 for something that saves you basically the trouble of pulling something out of your pocket? I'm skeptical. With that said, it's Apple.
Lazy.
It's Apple, and they're probably going to sell a ton of these things. Not as many, I think, as some analysts are predicting, but they will sell probably better than any other smartwatch.
Now, am I going to have to make upgrades every 20 minutes and buy new software operating system?
Well, this is a big question. Yeah, you're probably going to have to buy a new Apple Watch every couple of years, just like you do with your phone. I mean, chips, but they just evolve, and you won't have the same experiences. But this is a very big question for the Apple Watch Edition, because that's a $10,000 investment people are making in a solid gold piece of jewelry. And it's obsolete in 2 years. I mean, I assume at some point maybe they'll come out with a trade-in program or something, but and they'll have some resale value just for the gold alone. But that's a weird thing to go obsolete in 2 years.
I agree.
Or, in such
so there's a lot riding on this for Apple. It could become a $1 trillion company.
Yeah.
It's been added to the Dow. What do you make of that?
Well, I think if you look at how they did today's event, everyone was expecting the watch, but they also pulled out the MacBook. They talked about HBO. All these things. I think this event was a little bit of them hedging their bets a little bit, because they could have made it all about the watch. They could have talked about retail. They could have had Johnny Ive on stage. They could have done a bunch of different things. But instead, they kind of okay, here's a bunch of new things we have coming out. And, the watch is there, too, and we're happy about it. But, let's temper our expectations a little. I think that was a little bit of what today's event was about.
A lot of pressure from Wall Street for the company to come out with entirely new category-busting products. So, let's talk a little bit about the smartwatch industry. I want to show folks. In 2014, 6.8 million smartwatches were shipped in total. Consumers bought 720,000 devices using Android Wear.
Not so
Average
good.
price, though, was $189. That's not what Apple's offering.
No, it's astronomically less. I actually have an Android watch right now.
Nice.
It's the LG G Watch R. I kind of like it. And that's another thing. They have the round faces, which are kind of cool and stylish. So those are pretty neat. But the smartwatch, and even Android Wear hasn't done well. The stat you just rattled off, which is just 600-something thousand, that's not a lot for a piece of technology.
So am I going to have to, talk to my watch if I buy one of these things? I mean, how does it work?
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, that's something you can do. You can take calls on some of these watches, not all of them. The Apple Watch you can.
Crazy to
Seems
me.
like Tim Cook was very excited about that particular feature. But that's why you need a smartphone with these, because you still need to type sometimes. And even those you can't really have a keyboard on a watch, although some have tried to put a keyboard on it. You're always going to need to have some kind of idea
to have this watch.
Yes, and that must be present almost all the time for it to actually work.
Wow.
Some Android watches have standalone music players, and they also have other functions you can do even without the like GPS can track your location. The Apple Watch doesn't have those, so you're going to need to have your phone with you all the time for it to really do what you want it to do.
Got it, Pete. Thanks for coming on the show tonight. Always good to see you.
My pleasure.
And